Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have a subscriber who she's going to share her terrifying encounter that happened just off the interstate in Texas. Before we get into that encounter, though, a couple links. As you know, I rely on my Patreon, my PayPal, and my merch to help this channel to continue to grow and go. All of those links are in the description below. I also have a second channel for creepypasta, fan fiction, and scary voice acting. Stories that, they just don't fit on this channel. Now, if that's anything that you're into, follow that link and give those stories a listen. You may just like what you hear. Now, I've definitely taken enough of your time. Let's get on with today's upload. Shall we? Alright guys, tonight, our subscriber encounter, we have Crystal with us. Crystal, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm very good. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to reach out and share your experiences with us. I think the more people that reach out and share in their own words, as well as, just sending me their encounter, I think it's better that way. More people might be able to come out, and I think it's good that more people share. So, I'm going to give you the floor, Crystal, so please share what happened.
Okay, yeah. This one's, I guess, pretty straightforward. There's not really a whole lot that happened, but this was in the spring of 2017, and I had to go to the Metroplex for a training and like a continuing education thing for the job I was at the time. And it's about 150, 200 miles or so west is where I live from the Metroplex. So it was a good ways away from home. And I was going through a lot at the time. I had just, my family dynamic was kind of falling apart, I guess you could say. I had a son that had a very long 10-year battle with addiction. And he was actually in a mental health facility at the time that I was traveling along, trying to get to this conference. And my husband he's in the military, and he was overseas, deployed to Afghanistan. And that back then was a hotbed. I'm sure it probably still is. So I was just in constant turmoil about, what was going on with my family at the time. And luckily my two daughters, everything was going good with them, but it was just, basically the men in my life, I guess, but anyway, I remember getting to my conference, and I think I was like on the second day of the conference, everything was going pretty well. But I remember getting some phone calls from the hospital that my son was in at the time. And he was about to be discharged, and he really didn't have anywhere to go but, to our house, And I was just really upset because there I was, almost 200 miles from home. This was already added to the stress I was currently feeling, and the social worker was kind of giving me, it giving me trouble, I guess, just giving me a hard time saying, your son's not important to you, your son's not important to you. And I was just like, yes, my son is important to me, but you have to realize I'm not around the corner. I'm like almost 200 miles away. So, I had all that going through my mind and trying to figure out what am I going to do with all of this? I don't even know what to do with this, trying to help my son. And by this time, we were reaching the 10-year mark of me dealing with stuff like this and it disrupting my life. And not to take away from, he was my son. I needed to help him, but it was just, it took so much out of, I still had two other kids. I had a job. I have a household, also have pets at home. I had, so much. And he was at the time almost 22 years old. And I was just kind of like, enough is enough. I just have too much. And anyway, so, I remember just being super stressed out. When I left the conference that day, I went back to my hotel, couldn't even sleep very well. Went back the next day to finish the last day, and finishing it up, and it was all kind of a blur because I was just going over and over in my head everything that I was just bogged down with all of that, with my husband and my son, and I was also having a lot of health problems. So I just had too much on my plate at the time. It was just I don't know. I was sinking, kind of a thing. And so anyway, finished up that last day. And I mean, I literally just threw all my luggage into my car, and I was driving down I-35. And at some point I was supposed to merge on to I-20 West to get back home. And well, that didn't happen because I was just trying to go through, just going through everything. Okay, what am I going to do about my son? I hope nothing crazy's happened in Afghanistan today. Don't forget to pick up the dogs, kind of a thing. And I was just really, and also trying to stay awake really at that point too. Just super stressed out. So of course, as luck would have it, I mean, I missed my exit, and I was not happy about that. And that's when it happened. So I had to figure out a place to turn around, and I turned off this little side road. I was looking for the little bridge that you can cross over and then get back to the other side of the freeway, so I could get back on my correct path.
Right.
Well, I don't know how it is anywhere else because it's been a long time since I've traveled, especially now with everything going on in the world. But out here in Texas, there'll be just these little, just kind of like fields. And then there'll be these little side roads near the access roads. And there'll just be a house here and there, here and there. And I kind of pulled off to a side road, similar to this. It's just basically countryside, but then across the freeway, there were businesses and stuff. But this was just kind of like a desolate little part in the road. So I pulled off the side road to turn back around and get back on the right route. And anyway, I pulled into somebody's driveway, and there were a couple cars in the driveway, and one of the nighttime city lamps, the night lights that come on. And it was just it was near the trash cans, and they were on a metal rack that was kind of raised off the ground. And they were those really old timey trash cans, the tin metal trash cans with lids.
The kind like Oscar the Grouch was in?
I'm sorry?
The kind that, not the kind that we have now, the big plastic ones, but the small metal, kind of the Oscar the Grouch trash cans.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, exactly, the Oscar type ones, And anyway, I was standing behind those. I guess I caught him trying to get a snack or something. It was really weird. It's weird for me to even talk about it now because, our minds tell us that these things are not supposed to exist.
Right.
And I just remember I already had so much going through my head that at that point I was just like, did you really see what you saw, It was... I'm close to 7 feet tall. I remember it being mostly black and maybe a little gray, right around the muzzle part of the mouth. And its eyes had shown really bright golden amber, kind of. And I was just I can't even describe how I was feeling. I was just okay, I'm officially crazy with everything that was going on in my life. I just was okay, I've officially lost it. Now I'm seeing huge, gigantic dogs apparently standing upright bipedally, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what in the heck? So I didn't even give it a second thought. I didn't, like a lot of people, they freak out and they freeze and all that. I mean, I froze for maybe a split second, but I was just like, I got to get home. Oh my gosh, I'm officially crazy. I just got to get home. So I backed up and just drove on about my way. And I thought about it for a minute or two, like, golly, what was that? I mean, I really am losing it. And then, I don't know, with everything else that was going on in my life, that just took over, and I totally forgot about it until, I was listening to your channel all the time, and it brought back that memory. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I saw something like that, and I had suppressed it, I guess, for many reasons, because it's not something you want to think about.
Right.
And I had plenty of other things that I needed to deal with. So, but I got to thinking, holy crap, these people, they're describing exactly what I saw, and I was just like, I can't even, I don't know. I mean, after I realized that, I was kind of like in shock all over again, I guess you could say.
Right.
I mean,
now
I don't know.
the area where you saw this, really quick. So just so people can understand a little better, you pulled off the highway. You're on a desolate kind of a road there. Is there a lot of woods in that area?
There was a pretty thick tree line, and then there was some pasture area as well.
Okay. On
the other side of where I had pulled into, there was like one house and then a really big tree line. And I don't know how far back it went, if it went into more of like a woods type field, or if it was just a grassy field that was like the one across the street. The one across the street looked like it might have been like winter wheat or something like that. It was just a flat, grassy looking field across the road from this house and this wooded tree line. So yeah, it was just this little side road where like this little house was just kind of out away from everything. It was a good ways. I don't know. It was probably about a mile or so down that little road, that little side road that I had taken off of the access road. Okay. So it was in a pretty, I guess, more secluded. It wasn't far from the interstate, but it was, it was more secluded than, like anything else was at that point.
Right. Well, they've been seen everywhere. I just kind of wanted to get a little bit of, obviously it's country, but there is businesses a little ways away too. So, I mean, but they've been seen in the cities as well. So it's definitely not a far-fetched concept of them being anywhere, especially with all the encounters that we're hearing come out. Now, when you pulled in, did you notice it right when you pulled in, or was it standing straight up right when you pulled in? What was that?
It was right behind the trash cans, and I, could only see from like its waist up.
Okay.
And its hands were kind of in the shadows, so to speak, and its legs and everything were behind the trash cans.
Right.
And at first, I thought it might have been like, I don't know, like a cat sitting on the fence, because the house had a chain link fence that was, I guess, basically had the perimeter of the yard fenced off with chain link. Mm-hmm. And so I thought it was a cat, like sitting on the fence. And then I realized, wait a minute, the fence is down here for maybe 5 feet, and the eyes are like way up here, like, at the 6 foot or 7 foot mark, And I was like, okay, so this is weird. And then that's when I looked a little closer, and that's when I saw the pointy ears and the big muzzle, you know, and I mean, I have German Shepherds. I have 2. And, you know, I was like, oh, wow, you know, like,
Right.
that's weird. That looks like one of my dogs on steroids standing up on its hind legs.
Right.
And I was just, I don't know. Like I said, I was like, okay, so I'm officially crazy. Like, that's kind of how I felt at the time. Like, did I really see it? It didn't shake me up as bad as I thought it would.
Right.
Then again, I was already really shaken up anyway.
Yeah, your life is already kind of like, not in shambles, but you're just not ready for this thing to pop into your life at the time.
Exactly. And, you know, I didn't get that imminent fear. Like, I knew it was evil of sorts. I knew it wasn't a good thing. It wasn't like the Easter Bunny, you know, or whatever. But I knew it wasn't a good thing. I knew it wasn't like, it was like, oh, you know, the old saying, like, if I tell you, I'm going to have to kill you, or if I show you, I'm going to have to kill you.
Right.
Kind of thing. I know that's an old joke, but this thing obviously clearly was not joking. But it just looked at me like, now you've seen me, and now guess what? Kind of a thing. Is kind of how it looked at me.
So after you saw it, it did not make any movement towards you. It just stayed right where it was.
It stayed right where it was, and it just looked at me. It gave me a look like, now that you've seen me, guess what? You know, like, stuff's about to hit the fan,
right.
Kind of a thing.
Right. Wow.
And, oh, go ahead.
Just imagine if you were actually pulling into that person's house to, like, visit.
I know.
You know?
Oh, my God.
That's insane.
I don't even know. Yes, that is insane. And, you know, I don't even know if I can ever find my way back to that exact spot again, but I've always thought about that. Like, I needed to let them know, don't go outside at night at all. At all.
Right.
But I don't even remember exactly where it was. I know it was in DeSoto, because, you know, I had seen the sign when I was exiting, and I was like, DeSoto? I don't go home through DeSoto. I go home through, you know, a different way through Weatherford, and through, you know, like headed to Weatherford. And so, you know, that's when I realized, oh, wrong place, need to turn around. And of course, that's when all of this happened. But,
right. How far away from your house to this area are we talking? A couple hours, couple miles, 100 miles?
Probably, I would say at least 2 to 3 hours.
Okay.
Away. But I mean, here where I live, there's a lot of countryside too. I would imagine they're probably everywhere, but I've never heard. I've lived in my area since 1985. I have never heard anything. So I don't know.
Right.
They've got to be around here. There are a lot of hills and a lot of caves in the hillsides around here. Yeah. But I've never heard anything about specifically my location.
Yeah, that's definitely, wow. All I keep picturing is just what if, how you explained that look that it gave you, like, now you saw me, now I'm gonna, I wonder if it was almost thinking, hey, this person's gonna have to get out of the car. Maybe they didn't see me. I'll just jump on them. That's terrifying. I mean,
I know.
Now,
oh, go ahead.
No, what were you going to say? I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I was just, after I've heard some of these other encounters, I was just like, I'm really, really glad I did not need to get out of the car for anything, because that would have been bad.
Right. Now, the eye shine, was there an eye shine? Was there a color?
Yes, it was kind of like a yellowish amber.
Okay.
Like a real, yellow, very bright, almost like a cat's eyes in a way, like the real yellow that they give off, but way bigger. I mean, way bigger than a cat's eye.
Right.
That was another thing when I was thinking, oh, maybe it's a cat sitting on the fence. Because I've had cats that like to do that before, but I was like, no, that's way too high away from the fence line and way too big for cat eyes.
Yeah.
So, but it was pretty crazy. I could see that it had human type shoulders and arms, but I just, like I said, the hands were kind of down into the shadows, but I could just tell that it was canine of some type.
Right.
Definitely not normal kinds.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. That is, now, final thing quick before, now when it did look at you and you got that feeling, did it kind of like move its mouth? Were you able to see any teeth? Or, like a lot of people say it smiled at me kind of maliciously. Like German Shepherds are notorious for smiling. I've had a German Shepherd when I was younger and she loved to smile. So I'm wondering if like it did that a little bit or...
It did. It opened its mouth a little bit. I'm trying to envision it now. It was more like a very, very small grimace. It wasn't like an outright, it wasn't a very wide smile, but it was just a small grimace where I could just barely see the canine starting to protrude, but it wasn't that malicious. Like when my dog is upset, she'll lift her top lips and bare the canines.
Right.
And it wasn't like that, but it was just like, well, now you've seen me. Yeah. And guess what? Kind of a thing. Like, and so I didn't, like I said, I didn't even know what to make of it at first. I was like, well, I've lost it. That's it. I'm tripping myself into, the hospital when I get home. But I mean, that's how I felt. But.
Yeah, absolutely. So then you pull out, you're driving, you thinking you lost it. You subconsciously stuff this feeling or the sighting. About how long in months, years was it before you kind of realized that, hey, holy cow, I had this experience? Wow.
I had actually put it out of my mind up until probably September-ish of this year.
Okay.
That I shoved it that far back, but I had a lot going on. I mean, not long after that, I was in a car accident. And then a few months after that, unfortunately, my son lost his battle with addiction. Yeah. And that consumed me for quite a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sorry for your loss as well.
Thank you. It's been a tough road, but God is good, and I, just do the best I can. Some days are not so great, but most days are good. They're better. I'm no longer worried about my son. I know where he is.
Yeah.
I know he's in good hands.
Yep.
And so, my husband, thankfully, is not deployed overseas, so I don't have that, and so, things have gotten better, but for a little while, they got really tough, and I just completely forgot about that until, I was listening to your channel, and, I was like, oh my gosh, this sounds so much like the thing that I saw.
Yeah.
I was like, I just put it in the back of my mind. It was like, okay, so you're crazy. Okay, so life goes on. I don't know. I mean, that's what happened. It's not all that spectacular or anything, but, I mean, it did happen.
Yeah. I mean, like I always say, any encounter is an encounter, and people say, hey, it's not that big. It's not. Well, it is, because our brain and society as a whole, since we were children, tell us monsters aren't real. And then, like, your sighting was probably less than 2 minutes, if that. But it was enough for you to have a a change in reality of what you thought. Well, monsters are certainly real because I saw one, and it's crazy. It is crazy. And I don't hate when people say that. I kind of frown upon it because it's all encounters have some significance. Small, large, they're all the same. It's just proof that there is something in reality that we are told doesn't exist. So, well,
right. And I don't understand why they would want to suppress that. I think that would be very beneficial for everyone to know. I mean, I know it's very strange. It's weird. Just completely out of this world, but it just doesn't make sense that they would suppress that. I feel like there's no good reason for it.
There really isn't. I mean, think about like the amount of people that listen to my channel and the other channels that are out there. There's not mass hysteria. I mean, if you add all of the subscribers together and, count the double ups and stuff like that, but like there's got to be at least almost 1 million people that, hear these stories. It's not mass hysteria. They should just let us know. It's like the UFO alien cover-up. They keep that hidden because they're afraid of mass hysteria and people panicking in the streets. Well, you're going to have less panic when people know what's going on. So
exactly. I agree.
Well, it was wonderful having you on tonight. Please don't hang up. I'd like to talk to you for a second after we end the interview. Is there anything that you'd like to say to everybody before we end the interview?
One thing I do want to say is if you have anyone in your house that is struggling with addiction or mental health issues, I just want to ask you to never give up. Help them until your very last breath, because you will not regret it. I have days where, I think I should have done this, I should have done that. And then I think back and I think about everything I did do, and I bent over backwards. And I can at least go to sleep at night knowing that I did everything I could. So just don't give up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming on. It was wonderful having you on, and happy holidays.
Thank you. Happy holidays to you too.
Wow, guys. What a lovely woman. Really enjoyed chatting with her, chatted with her a little bit after. Real great person from Texas. And, tragic loss, but she really, really handled it well. Her encounter is terrifying. I mean, the only thing that kept going through my head as she was talking about it is, what if she was actually pulling in to visit these people, didn't see the goddamn thing, got out of the car, and the thing attacked him? It's nuts. It's nuts. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's upload as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. And I want to thank Crystal for coming on and sharing her encounter. And hopefully, the more people that come on, the people that are hesitant, maybe they will be less hesitant to come on and share their encounters. Because I think the more we get the information out, maybe then we will only get the truth. All right, guys, have a great night.